The Gangster Disciples have been controlling certain streets since the 1960s. They're what many consider a generational gang made up of grandfathers, fathers, and sons. So organized, they have ranks, like the military. Though they started in Chicago, the Gangster Disciples have spread over the years to at least 31 states and 110 cities, according to the Department of Justice. The GDs have 25 to 50,000 members, and in a January indictment, one of its highest-ranking national leaders was listed.
After serving 3 years in prison for distributing marijuana, Deshaun Chambers would be released in 2014 and rise in the ranks of the Gangster Disciples. He would become the shot caller, also known as the GD's chief enforcer. However, on December 10, 2018, at around 8 p.m., 3 men attempted to buy drugs from Walter Brown, a well-known GD and relative of Deshaun Chambers. The drug deal went bad, resulting in all 3 individuals shooting Brown and taking his life. A police report revealed that he was shot by 2 different firearms. 4 days later, on December 14th, Devontae Jamal Brown, Maurice Lawrence, and Ralph Bess were all arrested for malice and felony murder. Deshaun was furious about the loss of his cousin, but had no way of getting to the suspects. Later that evening, on December 14th, Chambers was working as a pimp. His girlfriend, Andrea Browner, also known as Drea, was a high-ranking member of the Gangster Disciples and a prominent member of the Sisters of the Struggle, SOS, the female side of the GDs. She worked as his prostitute. Chambers bought a hotel room at the Days Inn in downtown Athens and left. Drea then posted an ad online for her clients to see. A 32-year-old man, Rodriguez Rucker, began communicating with Drea, and they agreed that he would pay $70 for a quick visit which typically lasts for 15-20 minutes. Rucker called an Uber to the Days Inn and met with Drea. Drea began to realize that Rucker was related to one of the 3 suspects who were arrested for Walter's murder. She started texting Chambers to inform him of what she just realized. Chambers waited in the hotel parking lot in his black Chevrolet pickup truck. Eventually, Rucker called an Uber back to his grandmother's house to get ready for work. When Rucker got into the Uber, Chambers followed the Uber to Rucker's drop-off location. 5 minutes after Rucker was dropped off, Chambers gunned him down outside his front yard. The Uber driver was nearby and witnessed the shooting. He informed the police that he saw a black pickup truck in the area, and surveillance footage also captured Chambers' license plate. When Drea and Chambers discovered that they were the main suspects in the murder, they both fled to a safe house in Killeen, Texas. The following day, a Texas state trooper was dispatched regarding a person of interest who had a prostitution warrant from Athens, Georgia. The call indicated that Drea was at a gas station in Rusk County, Texas. The state trooper arrived at the gas station, identified Drea, and took her into custody. However, Chambers managed to avoid being arrested. Chambers suspected that someone in his gang was cooperating with the police and providing them with information about his whereabouts. So he called back to Georgia and ordered Leslie Green, also known as Grip, who was second in command under Chambers, to kill 2 suspected GD members, Joshua Jackson and Derek Ruff, who Chambers had suspected them of snitching. So on December 19th, Green and 2 other GD members, Robert Carlisle and Shabazz Guidry, told Joshua and Derek to meet them at the Extra Space Storage Unit facility located in Gwinnett County. They told them that they would be breaking into storage units and sending stolen items to Chambers in Texas. So the 4 men lured both Joshua and Derek into a storage unit and shot both of them to death. It would later be revealed that Chambers had incorrectly believed that the 2 men were informants and that they were innocent. Chambers, Green, Carlisle, and Guidry conspired to potentially burn the bodies and dump them in a landfill, but law enforcement intervened before their plans were executed. Their bodies were hidden in the storage locker until they were discovered by police and sniffing dogs 3 months later on March 17th. Chambers had been on the run for a total of 83 days until he was caught in Texas on March 6th and extradited back to Georgia. The FBI got involved, used wiretaps, and was able to track down and arrest the last 3 suspects. All 5 suspects were hit with a federal racketeer, influenced and corrupt organization, RICO conspiracy. A grand jury had handed down a 21-count indictment against all 5 suspects with charges including street terrorism, concealing the death of another, participating in criminal gang activity, felony murder, malice murder, aiding and abetting, and more charges. On February 20th, 2024, Leslie Green was the first to be sentenced, and he was sentenced to a life sentence in federal prison without the possibility of parole. All 4 other defendants have pleaded guilty, and all face a life sentence without parole. As for the 2018 murder of Walter Brown, all 3 suspects were sentenced as follows. Brown pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, and was sentenced to 17 years in prison and 3 years on probation. Lawrence, who pleaded guilty to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, was sentenced to 5 years in prison and 20 years of probation. And Bess, who pleaded guilty to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, was sentenced to 3 years in confinement, to be suspended after successful completion of 6 to 9 months in a detention center and followed by 10 years of probation.